Thanks. I still come across people who believe that feminism is about disempowering men. My feminism is not about bringing men down, but about building women up. The misunderstanding about this encourages resentment and fear amongst some men. How can we make our brothers understand that feminism is not something to fear and in fact is not really about them at all?
Thanks for that, Bethany. Before I put it to the panel, you have 3 boys, I understand, as well. Is that right?
That's right.
In their teens?
14, 15 and 16.
So is this a conversation you have with them a lot about how they see themselves and their relationship to women and the world around them? How's that conversation go?
I've brought them up to lead by example, as a woman leading by example in their life. So I'm the main breadwinner, I always have been. I present a strong role model for them. And as far as I can see, they really see no difference in what men and women can achieve. It doesn't even come across as something that even may be an issue for them, which I'm not sure about other families, but I'm really pleased about that in my family, in that there's lots of strong women in my family, and they just expect that as something normal in life.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I'll go back to you on that, Claire. Just a response to that idea, as Bethany put it, that...
I'd like to too.
Yeah, no, Wendy will most definitely come to you on that. But the idea of disempowering men while women are empowered, what's your take on that?
Well, I think it's important to frame the conversation around a positive-sum game. So just because women are winning doesn't mean that men can't win as well. And I think too often we can get trapped in this framework, this narrative, which is zero-sum. Because men are winning, because men are in these powerful positions, therefore women aren't in those positions. We can actually create, we can step back and choose to see the world as an abundant world where we all have opportunities and we can all create value and we can all win. And I think just framing it in those positive terms goes a long way.
Wendy?
I think 50-50 is a concept. And you have it out there. If you look at the normal curve, it comes up like that. There's a time when you're on one side because you're doing one thing in a relationship or a family or in your job, and then the other person fills in. But the idea of equality is, in a sense, do no harm. So the negative outcomes are not the outcomes that any feminist would wish for. And I think that Ipsos has just done a poll, which I was reading about this morning. I mean, on the last thing I'd say in Australia, there's 27% of women in the cabinet. Well, that is not anywhere near a reasonable number. But the thing about the Ipsos poll was that, and it's a world poll, was done 3 days ago, 29% of people in the world who answered the poll thought masculinity was under threat. And we have to listen to that. 26% would, 1 in 3 thought that feminism could do more harm than good. And 15%, rape, violence, victim blame. And in Australia, 3 out of 10 don't believe that gender equality exists. They're wrong, but they're pretty, they're the numbers.
Is this a poll, a general poll?
It was done as a worldwide poll,
right,
and for Ipsos, and Julia Gillard and someone else discussed it a couple of days ago, and it was put up online. And I just got it, and Virginia Housiker sent it to me, and I thought it was just remarkable, the variation in numbers, and just the education, the attitudes to that, which is quite scary because, especially around violence and safety. This little group I'm with says respect, safety and equity. And that's a nice way to think about it too. If we get respect, it's respect that's missing in our public discourse that I find more threatening and ugly than anything else.
We'll go to our next question, which will pick up on that. But before I get to that, I wanted to come to you, Najeeba, because your dad's here tonight. He's come with you in the audience here. And you've spoken about this, about the role of your dad in your life. and culturally how these questions of men and the disempowerment of men or the empowerment of women play out. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think it's a very important question. Every time I start being in a forum where we talk about gender equality, you know, the gendered empowerment, the gendered approach, I tend to see that at least for us, we are 4 decades behind from any of this conversation in my own community, in my own country, even those that have arrived on the shores of Australia. I mean, I have been quite lucky to have, you know, supportive men around me, especially my father, who's with me here. He's been so supportive in ensuring that I turn out to be an educated woman, a woman who can have her own voice and her own dream and visions. I think it goes back to what we were talking about, you know, the question is that why do we even have to have a language around who's the winner? You know, we need to be allies. We need to be supporters to this conversation. We cannot do it alone as women. We need men to be allies. And I think today, if I'm a bit successful in my journey of advocacy when it comes to gendered issues, to refugee issues, it's because I have had a strong father behind me, standing up to my community and say, this is what I actually support. This is actually why we came to Australia. And I think these are the kind of allies that we require in community and society. And we also need to acknowledge that men do come with a set of privileges. And most often we tend to forget that. They're actually born, you know, as a result of patriarchy. And that itself, you know, talks loud to the discrimination and racism and the indifferences that exist out there. But I think, again, for me, I've been quite successful to have that, you know, mentor, that support around me. And I think it makes a huge difference in any woman's life, especially in the young woman's life, who would be the future generation to this.
Stan, I was just going to say, I think it's about how you define feminism, isn't it?
Exactly.
If you look about winning and losing, then you're on your journey to nothing, really.
Exactly.
Whereas if you're thinking about winning and winning, if you're thinking about choice and empowerment, then it has to be, it's a cultural thing, and that culture has to be women and men. And I totally agree with Bethany. I've got, you know, a daughter, a daughter-in-law, a granddaughter. They're all growing up to be great, strong women. It's fantastic. But that's in no way, you know, disempowering the men. It's actually enabling everybody, I think, to have a better culture.